If you're ready to experience more peace and joy in your life, if you want to feel more comfortable in your own skin, and if you're ready to discover and expand on your energetic gifts and personal power, you're in the right place. So here's your host, Kelle Sparta.
Welcome back to the Spirit Guides podcast. It has been a while since we sat down to record, so I am going to try and remember what I normally say. I am your host, Kelle Sparta, transformational shaman and spiritual coach and spiritual business coach, and I am here as always on Mondays with my friend and student Joshua Radewan, who is a wonderful spiritual coach. I should know, I trained him. And we are talking today about, are my dreams trying to tell me to clean my room? Into the dreamscape, into the woods, to grandmother's house and home before dark. I have been sick and performing Mamma Mia at the same time for the last week. And so if I sound a little froggy, that would be why. And it is also why I'm wearing my unicorn snot lipstick, because that was a gift to me for the show from one of the other performers, and I absolutely love it. It's purple, and it just, I love it. It's me. It's so me. So I will have a link probably on my About Me page to the entire show sometime in the next, by the time this episode airs, probably. I will have a link to that if you guys are curious to see me performing in the show. I've been talking about it so much, I figured you guys should get a chance to see it. So, anyway.
You have to check out her rendition of The Winner Takes It All. I have watched it a few times now, and I was absolutely blown away. So, she's not doing herself complete justice here, being the humble woman that she is, but she absolutely killed her performance. And I just want to share that with everybody. I'm not a big theater person, but I watched all of that, and I was so impressed. I have nothing to base it off of, and I'm just so impressed. And I see all the hard work that you all put into that performance, and I know the rigorous, rehearsals that you were going through beforehand. So I mean, just amazing. You guys,
yeah. The best compliment I got from the show was one of the women on the production crew looked at me and said that I was better than Meryl Streep in the role. So I was like, that was quite the compliment. So yeah, sorry, it's hard for me to be enthusiastic right now because I am barely able to breathe. So little details. Anyway, so you guys will have a chance to see that when I've got that up and running. So, and my assistant quit in the middle of the show too, so that was fun. Anyway, my brand new assistant quit a week in. So, but we're not here to talk about business. We're not here to talk about Mamma Mia. We're here to talk about the Dreamscape. Sorry guys, for a minute I forgot this was Spirit Guides and not Spirit Sherpa, and we were doing the shoot the shit section. So, yeah. Anyway, so we're talking about the Dreamscape. Now, the first thing I want to say is that, before I forget, because I'm death gripping it, is there is some new research out that they have just recently proven that people went and talked to each other in their REM state, in their dreams. They did a study and they proved that it worked. Now, for those of us in this industry, that doesn't surprise us. Like, yeah, I've talked to people in my dreams a lot. But for science, it's huge, right? So the thing that we need to pay attention to in this is that it means that corporations are starting to get into this. And that is going to be problematic, because anytime corporations get involved, it means that they're going to try and monetize. And anytime they try and monetize, they bastardize and make things toxic. And so we're going to talk today about the Dreamscape. We're going to talk about it in general terms because we're introducing the topic here. But we will likely come back and talk about this again in terms of how do you master your ability to walk in the dreamscape, how do you protect yourself, things like that, because that's coming. Okay? And so let's start with the basics. the first thing you have to understand is that everything that happens in your dreams is based in symbology. And symbology is also the language of spirit. It's also the language of the collective unconscious. It's also the language of your subconscious mind. So for those of you who say, oh, I don't want to learn symbology, it's so complicated, I don't want to do it, stop whining. Okay? I'm sick, and I'm just going to tell you, stop whining. If you want to have any sort of understanding of the spiritual world and of the collective unconscious and of your dreams, you need to learn how to speak the language of symbology, because it is paramount to everything. If you ever want to do a psychic read for anybody, you ever want to read tarot cards, everything is all based in symbology. And so you speak more symbology than you know you do already. Okay? The symbols are used in movies and films. They're used in books. The symbols are used everywhere, especially in advertising and things like that. Everything uses symbology. So how do we learn symbology? Well, the dream world is the easiest place to learn symbology because there have been a billion dream books written over the years. And every single one of them has a symbolic meaning of all these different things, right? So, and dream websites and all the stuff, right? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start looking up the symbols in your dreams. And so, you have a dream of your teeth falling out, or waking up, or you're naked in a classroom and you don't know what the test is. These are classic dreams. These are things that people have on a regular basis. A dream of falling, right? All of this. And before I forget, if you're curious about why you would need to protect yourself in the dreamscape once corporations get involved, go look up a TV series from the mid-2000s that was called Falling Water. That thing was freaky and really scarily, probably very accurate. So, yeah, good movie, or TV show to watch anyway. But anyway, back to the subject at hand. I'm a little all over the place today, so you guys will survive. It's okay. So when you start looking up your symbols for your dreams, you need to also look up, you need to also keep in mind what those symbols mean to you, because there are universal symbol meanings, right? So like a house typically is reflective of you. It can also be a reflection of your sense of safety, your sense of comfort, your sense of home, your sense of sanctuary, if your home is your sanctuary. But if you were in a toxic house, if you live in a toxic house, your house might be a sense of dread. It might be a sense of, not belonging, if you feel like you're the black sheep of the family and you're stuck in this house or whatever, right? So whatever the universal meaning means may not be your personal meaning. And so this is where it gets into interpretation, right? And then in the shamanic world, we talk about the waking dream and the dreaming dream, right? So dreams are our dreaming dream, but the waking dream is our supposedly waking life, right? We are all spirits having a physical experience. And so the waking dream is the reality that we are creating through our intentions, through our beliefs, through our actions. And it is as much of a dream as the dreaming dream to our spirit, right? And so when you look at your dreams, you should also be looking at your waking life to see if the waking dream is reflecting the same messages that are coming through in your dreams. Okay? So what does that mean? So for instance, I have a tendency when I'm going through a massive spiritual up-leveling, or I did, I haven't had it in recent years, but back in the day, I would have dreams of being chased. I was being chased by the government, right? I had one dream in particular that was super freaky, where government agents were chasing me on a train, and I was there with my mother in bunk beds on the train, and she was with me, and I was trying to save her while I saved myself, and I was trying to keep these government agents off of us, and I was trying to drag her along in the train with me because she was not very athletic in her older years. And so that dream was happening somewhat regularly, and at the same time I was getting tailgated all the time by people in the regular world, right? Anytime I would drive anywhere, people would be tailgating me like they were chasing, right? And so, this is some of the things that you'll see where the bleed over happens, right? So that when you're looking at things, you're looking at the whole picture, right? So for those who read tarot cards, you'll notice that when you do a reading for one aspect of somebody's life, that will also be relevant to other aspects of their life. Same thing is true for dreams. Whatever you're looking at, you want to see not just what the one thing is it's trying to tell you, but how that theme transports across your whole life. Okay? So, you want to give me a dream, Josh? Do you have a dream you remember that we can interpret?
Oh, I got dreams. I got dreams for days, Kelly. So, recently I was talking that I'm not doing a lot of dream interpretation just because of, like the hurricanes just hitting around here and the collective unconscious really kind of being screwed up a little bit right now. So I've noticed a big shift in my dreams. So, but I will give you one that Cassie had recently. So we are moving, and we have a hot tub upstairs. So in this dream, she had a recurring dream that the hot tub, that it fell through and onto the first floor. So what would you make of that?
Well, I know that you and Cassie are selling the house. And so a common theme for fears around selling a house is that the house will fall through. The sale will fall through, right? So falling through, right? Bathtub is a point of relaxation and and being able to be still, which is something you guys were not being able to do while you were prepping the house for sale. And so it's also my place of relaxation is falling apart, right? So there's that. There's also, for her personally, because we're looking at anything that's dealing with your house is usually representative of you, right? So there's an inner falling apart within that as well. There's a collapsing of constructs within oneself in that space as well. So given that it's in the bathroom and around water, that would be emotions, right? So water is representative of emotion. So that's, and the likelihood is you don't have to pick, because the likelihood is all are true, right? That's the beauty of symbology, is that it can say multiple things at the same time, and you don't have to pick which one is true. They're usually all true.
I've had some really cool experience with the Dreamscape. I was actually just talking about this to a client last night. So there was a Christian camp I grew up on as a kid. Like I would go there. The lady used to take us to church. Really, did a lot for the community. And I had a dream of this place, right? Like the night before. And it's funny because you said Froggy earlier, and it reminded me to talk about this because it's how that works. So Frog has been very symbolic for me. Frog shows up for me when I'm in the right place. I've worked with, different medicine men with some of the frog medicines, across the globe. So, Frog shows up to me because I've connected on a deep level with it. So, in this dream, I just saw the land. I was just like lucid, and I was walking towards the back end of the property. And so the next day I'm in town, and I'd forgotten my dream. You know, I don't always keep the dream journal up as much as I should, but it snapped into me. I was in town. I was like, you have to go there. And so I went there, and as I was walking, I found a toy plastic red frog right there. And then I kept walking, and she was just sitting back there in a camper. She's like, how did you know to come here today? We're never here anymore. We don't live here anymore. How did you know to come here? And it was interesting because I was talking, like they're very, very Christian, and they don't really like the woo-woo stuff. So I kind of told them, and they kind of backed off a little bit, but it was a confirmation for me that I was really working with dreaming at that time on a much deeper level. I have one more dream for you that was very recurring, and this is an interesting one. So, you said something about the classroom that came up so many times before I jumped on the spiritual path, mostly because I just wasn't getting the fucking lesson. Like that's what it meant to me. Like when I look back, like I just kept showing up. But the one I'm talking about was different. This one recurred, I will say, I probably had this dream 15 times in 2017 while I was going through that rude awakening. I had this dream that I was in prison and that I was being tortured constantly. And like all these prison guards were characters from my life that, at some point I had allowed myself to give power over to, right? So inevitably I would try to get out of this. I would try to escape this prison, and I would always be caught, and I would always be put in this chair, and then I would always be poured, a vat of acid would be poured over me, and I was fearing death. And then the voice came from, and it's funny because it was actually the discarnate soul that you just crossed over for me was incarnate at the time, and his voice would come through and say, we're sending you back again. And that happened so many times. And there was a link to dream walking, which I'm sure we'll cover at a later date, but there was some real deep level shit going on during that time, during that portion of my awakening. So, and then I would get the message, like from Fleetwood Mac, like the Stevie Nicks line, when the rain washes you clean, you'll know it. So yeah, all those things.
Wait, that's from Landslide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting story about that song and the energy that song carries is that song was written at a time when she was in her own personal transformational cauldron. And, that was a pivotal song in her career. And the energy that's carried in that song is transformation. And, the idea of being killed and sent back, killed and sent back, killed and sent back. That's shamanic death over and over and over again, right?
It was so real. Like, it was so real, I had trouble discerning the waking dream from the sleeping dream. It was so real. And every time I came back, I was fucked up, right? Like, I was like, what am I doing here? And this is, not long before I ended up on your doorstep, I was, I was like, I think I've been through about 50 of these shamanic deaths just repeatedly over and over and over and over again. And they felt like real deaths a lot of the time, so many of them did.
Right. Well, and as you said, these are people that you had handed your power to. And so the dream was an opportunity for you. Now, so this is a little bit beyond the average dream. So let me just say that. So those of us on a shamanic path, we get given things like this that we have to overcome. And this was part of your shamanic initiation. It was I have to learn how to take my power back from these people so that they will stop killing me. It's a life or death scenario, and it's because you had to get to that place. There are certain benchmarks that we as shamans are held to. And sometimes they're ones that we set for ourselves, and sometimes they're ones that are a function of the path that we've chosen, right? And so we'll have a certain period of time that we need to get to a certain place in order to be able to be where we need to be later in life. And if we're not getting there, spirit can get quite obnoxious with us.
It was mutual, in my case.
You ignored a lot in order to get to that place. Because,
I was the epitome of getting drugged, kicking and screaming to the path because I didn't know the path was a path or that there even was a path.
Yeah. So yeah, that was less of a dream and more of a spiritual test. Spiritual test isn't really the right word. We get things like that in real life, in the waking dream or in the dreaming dream. We get things like that they are opportunities. We look at them as tests, right? We think, I'm getting my ass kicked, right? But in actuality, they are spirit giving us opportunities to make different choices. And it brings it to our forefront with large emotion to get our attention and say, hey, look at this, 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 look at this. And you were like, run away, run away, run away. And it's like, look at this. And so, you've got to be aware that dreams like that, you need to look at the underpinnings. And the underpinning was, you're handing over your power, you're handing over your power, you're handing over your power. And when you do that, you get your ass covered in acid. Get a grip, take your power back, right? So sometimes it's not a meaning in symbology. Sometimes it's look at the dynamics, right? So
absolutely.
Great question on that one, because that's an unusual one.
Well, I got loads of those. They've been following me since I was a kid. They followed me into this life. I started having recurring dreams around the age of 4, that followed me up until my late teens. So, it's been interesting. Dreamscape has always been an interesting place to explore.
I find recurring dreams are often related to identity issues. So, oh, that's sad. My coffee's cold. Okay, and not iced. So yeah, no in between. Anyway, so dreams. What do you do about them? How do you deal with them? Whatever. So in general, dreams are there to help you to identify what's going on in your subconscious mind, or to, like you said, the Hurricane Helene stuff has been impacting your dreams because that's the collective unconscious, right? And that, informs you of the collective unconscious. And, the U.S. has this sort of underpinning of angst and upset because of the political climate. And all of these things will impact your dreams if you are a sensitive. So the best way to help yourself is, one, to sleep inside of a warded space, protected space, and make sure that you've got protections up. And if you want to keep yourself from having the problems and the angst of the general world, having a dream catcher over your bed is a good idea, but you do have to clean those dream catchers. You cannot just hang them up and leave them. You have to put them in a window where they can be cleansed where they can be hit by the sun every morning if you're going to use a dream catcher. So, those are short, quick answers, right? The more complicated stuff is, how do you navigate through your world, right? So you want to listen to the messages that your dreams are giving you. And you can do that by looking up the symbology on the website and seeing whether that symbology resonates with you. Sometimes it's in the case of symbology, when I say resonate, unless it really doesn't resonate for you, I would say take it at face value, right? Because if it's neutral or positive, then it's for you. If it's negative, then you have a different symbology in yourself for whatever that symbol is, right? So, and the symbologies can change depending upon where you are in the world. I mean, in Western culture, you wear black to a funeral. In Eastern culture, you wear white to a funeral. So the symbology of black and white can be very different in different parts of the world as well. So keep that in mind. And so, the cultural context of the person having the dream makes a difference as well. So if you are an Eastern person living in the Western world and you have a dream about wearing white, it would probably mean a funeral to you, as opposed to, wearing black, even though you're living in Western culture. If your birth culture, meaning the culture in which you were raised, is one thing, and your current culture is another, you may have a mixed metaphor on that one for yourself. We often default to our childhood ones because that's the most ingrained in our beingness. So, you'll have to look at how your cultural influences are in your life, right? So I'm trying to give a general understanding rather than detailed, this means this and that means that, because you can look that up on Google, right? But how do you know how to put those symbols together, right? And the best thing I can tell you for knowing how the symbols go together is that it's an intuitive process. So you don't want to think it with the front of your head. You want to allow it to marinate with the middle of your head and then connect into spirit to sort of interpret, right? So when we think with the front of our heads, we're like, I got to figure it out, right? Whereas if you let the information that you're collecting sort of marinate in the middle of your brain and then allow it to evolve whatever it evolves without your brain trying to figure it out. Okay, if you're in figure it out mode, you're out of luck. Okay, that's not the right place. That is the best way to allow these interpretations to come together, because symbols don't. The front of our brain wants everything to click into nice, neat order in one way. Symbols don't work that way. They are not one anything. They are a multitude. Okay, and so a single symbol can mean 100 things, can mean 1,000 things. A single symbol connected to another single symbol can mean 1 billion things, right? So because you're taking all of the different meanings of that symbol and connecting them to all the different meanings of the other symbol. And so now you've got infinite combinations, not necessarily, but a lot, right? And what we do with our floaty brain is we allow the relevant connections to come to the surface, because they're all the connections, right? And on some level, all of those connections are relevant. Okay? I don't want to break your brain, but on some level, all of those connections are relevant. However, our brains can't hold all of the connections, right? Our brains can only hold so many, and therefore we want the most relevant to percolate up to the surface. And so this is why you can't use your figure it out brain, because your figure it out brain can't do all the permutations. So you need to be with the part of your brain that is just able to allow the relevant piece to come to the surface. So does that make sense, Josh?
Yes, always. I mean, like, as you talk, I'm like going through these processes. I'm like, oh my God, everything's clicking at once. So it's sometimes hard to stay fully present because I'm like, oh, ding, 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 ding. But yeah, no, it makes enough sense to start making different connections in the way that I'm interpreting some of these things. So I would say absolutely, if I'm going through that, then our valued listeners will also go through the same thing.
All right, good. I'm trying to take an esoteric concept and put it into words, so it's always entertaining, especially when one's brain is not fully online. So
yeah, I was talking to somebody yesterday in Shamanic Journey, and I'm just like, words, right? Like I have this feeling I'm trying to convey what an energy signature is to somebody, and I'm like, I don't really know how to put that into words, and then I just do the best we can from there. Just do our best.
I use the word flavor for energy signature.
I like that. Yeah.
Everybody's energy has a specific flavor.
Yeah. I like that. I'll use that.
No two flavors are the same. That is the energy signature. So
that's a great way of looking at that.
To use it. Like, you taste like cinnamon and honey, which is actually valid for you. Anyway. All right. So I think that's going to be enough for a primer on this. And we will come back and revisit this later when you guys have had a chance to do some interpretations and and see how things are going. I would love it if you would send me in, some of your dream interpretations, and we can read them onto the, we'll read them into the podcast. So if you feel so called, please send us an email at Kelle@kellesparta.com. And I would love to share your dream interpretations on the next episode that we do. And that would be phenomenal. And if you can't figure it out, then, hey, send us that too. And I'll interpret it on the air for you. So, and keep in mind also that we are still doing the readings on Fridays and the healing work on Fridays. And so the way you can get onto the podcast for that, you can always just come online and purchase a session if that's what you want to do, and that can be on your own. And if you'd like to be on the air, you're welcome. If you want to be on the air and you want to, purchase a session, we're happy to do that for you. But if you'd like to try and win a spot to be on the air, we also have the opportunity for you to leave a review. So you can leave a review on any platform that allows you to type in words for the review, not just stars. And it is very important in order for you to do this, you must send the email to support@kellesparta.com. Because if you send it anywhere else by any other means, it will not be added into the list. Okay. But we do draw winners from that periodically. And so that's a way to get in. All right. So, and as always, please like, subscribe, and share. We are here to serve you, and we want to make sure that we're getting out to the people who need us the most. And those people because you are friends with them. And you are in online communities with them and whatever. So do them a favor, do us a favor, do yourself a favor, because that encourages us to keep doing this. And please like, subscribe, and share so that we can get our word out to more people. We so appreciate you being here, and I'm so happy. I get a lot of comments from people on this podcast, a lot more than I normally get on Spirit Sherpa, which is very interesting. And so I really appreciate that you guys are so interactive with us. It makes us feel like we're not talking into the void, So, all right. And that's it for this week. Don't forget that what you focus on expands. What you intend is what you create. So choose wisely.
So that's it for today's episode of Spirit Guides Podcast. Head on over to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. Every week, one lucky listener who subscribes and posts a review on iTunes will be entered into a drawing for a $10,000 value grand prize and a private reading with Kelle Sparta herself. Be sure to head on over to spiritguidespodcast.com and pick up a free copy of Kelle's gift and join us on the next episode.